This week's episode of Queer Eye showed us that not all heroes wear capes, some of them wear skates. We got a whole lot of father-daughter realness, and we can't wait to break it all down with you right after this.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Skating our way into this episode.
I love that. Skirt. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Queer Eye After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're listening for the first time, what's up? I'm Christine Alexis, and I'm joined by the lovely Anna K. Thomas.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here with my girl, Queen Bee, Christine.
Hey, good
What's
to see
up?
you too. We are down a panelist. Our lovely Brendan Haley is not with us tonight, but he will be with us next week.
For sure.
All right.
It's ladies' night.
It's ladies'
When the men's
night.
away, the girls will play.
Okay.
Okay.
Can
Go
we
get some snacks.
Bringing it back in for you guys, we are discussing Queer Eye Season 4, Episode 3, which was titled The Stoner John, right?
So Stoner skates by.
I think we argued over what this episode should have actually been titled because there were so many funny, punny lines throughout the whole show.
Yeah. I like from Catsuit to the Catwalk, personally,
Yes.
but I guess the Netflix execs know more than I do, so
Yes,
it's fine.
it was officially titled Stoner Skates, but we're going to work with our own working title. But let's get right into it.
Sure.
This week's hero is none other than John Stoner. He is a guy with a really cool last name, if we're going to just start right there.
Kind of acts like a stoner, too. A little
Yeah.
problematic, as we learn in the episode.
Stoner life. So we have John Stoner. He is a 38-year-old man, described as a man-child by Tan in our description. He's 6'5". He's nominated by his 10-year-old daughter, Lucy. John works at home as a consultant, so most of his life is spent at the house. He is divorced, and his ex-wife and Julie, they co-parent Lucy together, and they have a very amicable relationship. So that's kind of the setup where we're at right now with this hero.
For sure.
So what were your first impressions of John when you first met him?
I'm all about parents who I come from a tight Jamaican family where you need to make your bed in the morning. My mom had breakfast for me. I was out the door for school. I had a lot of fun, but it was very structured. So for me, I was shocked when in the opening of this episode, we see little Lucy making breakfast for herself and her dad, waking him up. He's throwing on clothes, whatever he can find to take her to school. And I'm like, this is completely the wrong way. Who's the parent here?
I have to agree. Growing up in a Haitian household, also Caribbean household, that was not something that just completely threw me for a loop. I mean, my parents were on me and my siblings. I'm one of 4. Every morning to get us up early on time, we had a routine, we had a schedule, and if we messed that up, we were gonna hear it.
Right, big trouble.
Big trouble. So it's very interesting look at parenting here. I'm sure it's not a unique story because not everyone was raised the same way. We can't naively think that, but we're introduced to a very unique situation here where little 10-year-old Lucy is acting as the parent, like you said.
For sure. And I think the Fab Five quickly recognizes that oh, no, we got to get control of the situation for him, but also for her and their entire family unit.
What's so great about Lucy, which she arguably is the hero of this entire episode.
She's my hero, honey.
She is.
Yes.
Yes, girl. Yes, Mr. Developer.
Yes.
Yes, honey. Lucy, yes.
Yes, balance. Yes, symmetry.
Something that the Fab Five called out was that Lucy's actually the youngest person to ever nominate a hero for the show. So I think first and foremost, that says so much about this girl's maturity. It very much seems like she's an old soul stuck in a young body, and not necessarily because that's, I think, who she really is, but because what of her environment has called her to be.
Exactly. I completely agree with you, Christine. I think that she's had to grow up fast because her dad kind of refuses to. And, I'm just glad that they were able to sort of course correct now and not have her get older and be resentful, or have Julie, the ex-wife, be resentful. And they're sort of figuring out their own family unit now with the help of the Fab Five.
Yeah, it seems like this help really came at a much needed time for their relationship. Think back to when you were 10 years old. That's what, capping off grade school, going into middle school.
Those are formative years.
Extremely formative years. Your parents are separated, so you're kind of living 2 lives between them while also trying to, understand your autonomy, make your own decisions, kind of really grow into your own. So this is a really transformative time for Lucy, and even more so for her dad, who's literally being transformed
Yes.
in this episode.
Completely.
So let's get right into it. As we said, this season, we are going to be going through the order of the Fab Five and going through what they did with our hero and kind of giving our take on whether they were a thumbs up or thumbs down, whether or not they nailed it, because that's the best way to do it,
Of
right?
course, I agree.
I feel like we would be remiss not to start with Tan and kind of the wardrobe situation
God.
because the cat suits, really?
The cat suits, honey. Let's talk about that jacket with all the topless women inside. I was as horrified as Tan was about that. It was not okay. It was so not okay. You have a 10-year-old daughter. You cannot be rolling around with a suit that has naked women inside. That is unacceptable.
I mean, it was to the point where John was known around the community as the catsuit guy. When you're known as the something like that nickname is sticking. This is a real problem. This is like your new identity. And I'm sorry, the guy seems amazing, but I would be mortified if my dad was the catsuit guy.
Mortified. Wait, were you more offended by the cat suit or by the topless blazer? Women in the blazer.
More so the catsuit.
I can't believe it.
Because the topless blazers, you know, it's tucked on the inside.
You probably have a topless women's blazer in your closet hanging somewhere.
No, but I would like a blazer that had a lot of topless men, just
Uh-huh.
shirtless, you know.
Just Karamos.
Washboard abs.
Or Antony's.
Or Antony's. Like, that would totally be a staple in my closet. Sorry, not sorry, Tan. You won't get me to throw that one away.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But let's get into John's fashion. So, as we've already dressed him down, this guy loves catsuits. He doesn't really have a sense of style going on, and that's something that Tan really wants to refine for him. The good thing is, he's not afraid of prints.
Totally.
And
Color.
going out there, color. It's something that Tan has had to really force previous heroes to kind of warm up to. John's already there. He just needs a little bit of reeling it back
Yeah,
in.
it's about bringing him back rather than pushing him forward. It's about refining his already eclectic taste.
I love that. So Tan quickly realizes when they're at the fitting room together that he really has to start from the beginning, kind of teaching him how to dress as you would a little boy. And it kind of brings us to this concept of this Peter Pan syndrome that John seems to be struggling with, which we've spoken about on the show. Other our heroes, want to refer to them the right way. We've had previous heroes struggle with that situation as well, either whether it be some sort of life trauma that forced them to grow up too fast and then they're kind of stuck in this adult life of like, well, where do I go now? Versus a different iteration of it where you just actually never grew up, but the rest of your life progressed on despite that. So I feel like John kind of falls in the middle of that where, because he mentions it that he checked off all the boxes that you're supposed to get married, have a kid, buy a house. And then when all that fell apart, so did his identity.
Absolutely. And later on, he talks about falling into this depression, right? And how he used to go out and party, but then when he started having health issues, the gout and the knee issues, he had to leave that. And really, it forced him into being kind of a recluse, working from home, not being social. And that really made him take a hit on his self-esteem.
And especially just going back to his fashion, which we're talking about right now, I personally work from home. And I know that 9 times out of 10, you will catch me in my pajamas.
Right? It's a slippery slope. And you want to be comfortable. You're there. No one can see you. No shame in the game. I totally get it.
There's definitely a level of comfort that you get used to when you're working from home, which is great. That's honestly one of the perks from it. So you don't necessarily want to pull away from that. I think the issue is John didn't really learn how to like translate an outward style so that he can go to his daughter's competitions and just kind of present himself to the world in a way that's different from how he is, inside and at home, and it's his personal time. There really needs to be that distinction when you're trying to adult.
Of course. And you're representing not just yourself, but your family and your community. And he's going to be, this leader in Lucy's life. And it's really important that he presents himself in a way that she can respect and she can really honor him as well.
And that she can be proud of, because God, I mean, seeing it from her eyes, looking over into the stands and seeing your dad in a catsuit at the rink.
No.
I mean, luckily I didn't get that far, which they told us, but I'm sure he's worn something equally suspect. And
like the jacket with the topless women inside. No one's outraged by this. No one else but me. Guys, in the comments, give me some support here, because I don't know, Christine, if we watched the same episode.
No,
that was so upsetting.
It was definitely bad, but I just... like the cat's eyes are like bigger than his nipples and they're placed in the same area, and then the mouth is like kind of where the crotch is. Like that to me is
Not
wildly
okay.
offensive.
Okay, you're right. It's all bad. It's all
can
bad.
agree
But
to
Tan
disagree.
fixes it all, which is all that matters.
Tan fixes it all. You know, with Tan segments, we kind of see him work through some options that may or may not work and then kind of decide on the winning look. We both kind of disagreed on the first look that he tried on John with the
Yeah.
cable knit tie.
I was not into it. And normally Tan is a home run for me pretty consistently. I get where he was going, and sometimes it's about seeing like how far you can take someone and then kind of playing with that.
Right.
So I respect him trying and giving him the stripes and print and color. It didn't do it for me. Loved the reveal outfit though, so
Oh
he
my
definitely
God.
made it up in the end.
Slayed that outfit.
Slayed it.
We'll get to it a little bit later, but just as we said, Tan was kind of working on refinement here because he already had the personality. It's just about making it look really good for Lucy's dad.
Yes.
That kind of look. I definitely want to move on and talk about Anthony, who does a lot of work in the kitchen with John. I think we were equally stunned to hear at the top that Lucy gets up way earlier than her dad, goes to the kitchen. This is a 10-year-old girl we're talking about here. So everyone in the comments, like, or watching us right now, really take this in, that this is a 10-year-old girl using hot tools on a stove early in the morning by herself. Making breakfast, like even just eggs. I'm a great cook now, I want to say arguably, but I was very much petrified of the stove at that age. Could you relate to that?
Totally. And it's not even about, because Lucy's obviously, we talked about, she's very mature for her age. She's having
Right.
an old soul, old spirit. I was an only child, so I grew up cooking pretty young too. Like I was probably cooking around Lucy's age as
Oh,
well.
nice.
Like just little things. However, the problem is her being unsupervised and her being alone and like doing it for herself and her dad. It's such a role reversal that isn't fair for a little girl,
Right.
because she didn't choose to have that happen. It's happening to her and for her. So that's
good
the
point.
part that I just it didn't jive well. It's not like she was like coming home from school is like, oh my God, I want to bake a cake and like bake cookies and be in the kitchen, and you're fostering her development.
Creativity,
She's
yeah.
making her breakfast because no one else is doing it for her.
Right.
And that's a problem.
It's out of need of a survival versus like
Exactly.
a fun activity that daddy and daughter can do together,
Exactly.
which is where the concern lies. Again, we don't want to knock her for being the mature, smart soul that she is, but she shouldn't have to be at this point,
No,
honestly.
she should be a happy kid, living life, getting like in a safe, comfortable environment. And we know that John loves his daughter. It's not that he doesn't love her. It's just that he's in his own depression and dealing with things. So I don't want to knock him as a dad
For
because
sure.
he has been there for her, and even Julie said that. But yeah, it's just Karamo talks about it later. Like, why aren't you showing up for her? And I
Right.
agree. The breakfast thing is so no bueno for me.
Well, it sounded like that was a great place to start for them. And Anthony really turned it around in a way that made John feel confident
Yeah.
about himself and his ability to cook by teaching him how to make something as simple as breakfast pancakes with fruit. I mean,
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm a French toast girl personally, but those pancakes look damn good if I
They're
do say
fire.
myself. And the flip,
The
come
flip,
on.
honey, I can't. That was like the best. The confidence when he started doing the pancake flips, when John really mastered it, there was nothing like it. He was so excited.
It was so good to see, and I love the way they kind of turned it into a competition type thing because it ended up being a bridge for him and Lucy. Like, oh, let's see if we can flip this better, or just
Exactly.
something interactive. Period. Where I was like, normally I think seasons prior we would have knocked Anthony for doing something so simple, but I think in this situation it really worked.
Yeah, and it's playing into its breakfast, which Lucy loves, and its sweets, which she loves, but it's a little healthier. He used the almond flour, which is higher in protein, and he cut down on some of the sugar. I mean, it's still pancakes, so like
know.
I'm not gonna like really like sugarcoat it, you know, no pun intended.
Right?
But you know, at least he was trying to do something that fit within the family.
Agreed.
I
Thought,
appreciate that.
yeah, I can think we can say Anthony nailed this part.
I think so. I would give Anthony an A.
An A.
Yeah, I'll give him an A.
Solid
Yes.
A.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Good job, Anthony. Anthony. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Anthony tonight. I'm sorry, Anthony. I love you. I'll get your name right. Also, before we move on from Anthony, Julie did mention to the Fab Five that the dads of the young figure skaters, they host a breakfast for the athletes once a month where they cook breakfast. So this is a great skill that can be used at home and
Exactly.
on the rink. Like,
Exactly. It was genius. I loved it.
cool dad points right there.
Cool dad points.
Solid start. So we've talked about Tan, we've talked about Anthony. Let's go ahead and talk about Bobby and this house.
Yeah.
I know you always have a lot of opinions, so I'm gonna let you take this one away.
I do have opinions about Bobby.
About Bobby.
However, last episode, so episode 2, I was very supportive. I thought it was Bobby's best work in the entire series, not just the season. And I think tonight he also did a good job too.
Okay.
I really enjoyed how he wanted to focus on carving out a space for Lucy. And I just appreciate that he wanted to give her a space that felt age appropriate, but still kind of grown up, because she's kind of an older spirit. However, my one thing, he should have given John a workspace. And I guess John and Lucy can kind of share her space, but it's supposed to be Lucy's lounge.
Right.
And so he works from home. He talks about sitting on the couch, working at the coffee table, and maybe he can work at the dining room. But I wish that they focused more on John's home life, because that's where he spends so much time, and that's what started feeding into his depression. So to me, it would have been full circle to address that. But otherwise, I was very pleased with what Bobby did.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you there that I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity not to create his very distinct space and then have that juxtaposed to Lucy's very distinct space, so she can understand that like adults and kids have their own thing. There are spaces like, you know, the living area where we can come together, but when daddy's working, he's here. And when you're visiting daddy, you can be here.
Exactly.
This is where we can come together. So definitely a little knock on Bobby there.
Right. But her bedroom you loved, right? And I thought it was great too.
my
Yeah, and
God.
you thought that was more age appropriate.
It was definitely age appropriate because, as we've mentioned many times over, Lucy is definitely a mature young lady who is clearly wise beyond her years. So I think having that little desk space for her in Lucy's lounge that they aptly titled it was great. But I thought her bedroom was where Bobby's talents really started to sing. I mean,
the light blue,
the
the neon.
colors. I just felt it was very appropriate for a girl who's about to get into her preteens. I mean, the fact that he set her up with a little vanity in the corner.
So cute.
I'm sure it gave mom and dad a heart attack to think of their daughter playing around with makeup, but
But she's a skater. That's going to be her life.
she does have
I
to
mean,
do
she
her
looked
makeup for the
fierce
show.
at the end of the show with her skater makeup on, her dark lip. I was
Amazing.
like, give me that lip, honey.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It was definitely a job well done. And then just going through the rest of the house, they had a great structure, so it was just about elevating, you know, throwing some dark colors on there like Bobby normally
Bobby
does.
But it's a 100-year-old craftsman style house, beautiful, huge home. There wasn't that much that he had to do. He wasn't taking
Right.
on walls and all of that.
You know, just going back to what we were thinking about them not creating an office space for John at home, I'm wondering if maybe there was a conversation that wasn't edited in about potentially, you know, spending some days outside of the house, maybe going to something like WeWork, which I'm not sure they have in Kansas City, Missouri, but just kind of shared workspaces where you can get that work done, but somewhere else so you're not cooped up in the house all the time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like something like that could be a motivator for him to get up early and get out the house, get Lucy ready for her day, get himself ready to then venture out and work in a different space and just bring him outside of his comfort zone a little bit.
I totally agree. I know they had a lot to cover in this episode, especially the highlighting Lucy and her skating competition, which is why this entire show, like, that's what it was centered around.
Right.
But I do wish they just addressed that. Even just a touch would be
a
great.
touch
Even
more.
if Karamo took him to a coffee shop or a co-working space, to me that would have elevated the episode even more. It was already fantastic, don't get me wrong.
Agreed.
But that's kind of where, for me, it would take it to the next level. So if you guys agree, hit me up in the comments.
Let
'cause
us know.
Just a little opinion, that's all.
Well, I love that you brought up Karamo because tying in both Karamo and Bobby, they took him to the gym. They went out together and had a guys' day at the gym, which I love these segments. And I think Bobby and Anthony did the last one
They
where they took
did.
someone to the gym. So Bobby's a gym guy. Shout
Yeah.
out to you. I guess lifting all that housing
All the
equipment.
furniture, all that wood, baby.
I mean, they're all very well-toned guys. So I'll say that. But I love that they did take him to the gym because John's underlying issue throughout this whole episode is clearly his struggle with his mental health.
and his physical health.
His physical health, just battling thoughts of depression. And I can speak from experience with saying that getting on just even a small workout routine schedule does wonders for your mental health, and like fostering, you know, that feeling of self-care, kind of kickstarting that for you. And then not to mention like having a gym buddy, meeting somebody, having someone else to hold you accountable, having someone that you can express yourself to, or just laying it all out on the treadmill and putting those feelings back into your body in a positive way. Thought it was such a great idea that they introduced that.
Absolutely. And my thing goes again back to parenting. You're raising a young girl who needs to have positive self-body image. She wants to be a figure skater. Like, she's actively,
Right.
she's working on herself and her physicality, and she's strengthening her muscles so that she can do those triple axels, right?
Such a good point.
Right? And so it's important that in all aspects of his life, not just in the kitchen, not just how he looks, but even just something as simple as going to the gym a few times a week, even if he doesn't do the most amazing things at first, just showing up and doing what you can will teach Lucy that she can do it too. And I think it's so important, and I love that they highlighted that.
For sure. Him taking that step will only serve to reinforce her commitment to taking care of her body as she gets older. Because think
Exactly.
about it. Right now, before this point, Lucy was a lot, like, arguably could probably run faster than her dad.
Probably,
Like,
yeah.
She's in, like, tip-top shape.
Laps.
Laps, axles, flips, all you name it, and, like, literally run circles around her dad. So Papa's got to keep up. I think they took the right steps in getting him there. So
Totally agree with
shout
you.
out to that. I feel like this is a good time to get into Karamo.
I love it. What do you think? Lead us in.
You know, Karamo always knows how to really get you in the feels and get to the root of the issue here, which, as we've just discussed, is John's depression. There's so many contributing factors to how he got to where he is right now. From their conversations, though, throughout the show, I would definitely say maybe the divorce had a lot to do with that, even though John and his ex-wife, Julie, are co-parenting amicably and taking care of Lucy the best that they can. I feel like I can understand maybe as a man how that could definitely set you back to be separated and then be thrust into this role that you would normally be doing with someone else, but to just parent on your own and really step up, all while dealing with just a lack of inspiration inside. Like, the way he discussed it just seemed like those factors contributed to it, but there was just a general sense of something being off, you know?
You could feel it even when the episode started. Who lets their daughter watch 30 minutes of TV before they go to school?
You were pissed about that.
I mean, it's just like, again, it's like kids need structure. I don't want to be militant and be like a crazy person, but kids need structure, and that's how they develop into like young, responsible beings. And I appreciate it. I agree with him. It's hard. Freelancing, we both have freelanced in our lives. It's tough. Even when Bobby was talking to John, he says that he worked from home. Bobby worked from home, and he
Right.
got depressed. So I really appreciate Bobby opening up about his depression and his struggles as well. And when Karamo sits down with John and talks about it, I like that the conversation is, it's okay to discuss it, A, and B, it's okay to realize that you're on a journey.
Yes.
And that you're not just, it's not a quick fix. Like, he's already gone to his
Yes.
doctor, he's gotten medication. So it's not like John doesn't want to be better and
Yeah.
be a better dad and a better partner and a better figure in the community. He wants it. It's just he needs a little guidance to get him there.
Yeah, it just sounded like he kind of checked out for a little bit, which is, I believe, the phrase that he used. He kind of checked out of parenting because of trying to juggle all of those things at the same time. Lucky for him, Lucy is a very self-sufficient young lady. But again, yeah, he is well aware that he needs to step up in those areas. And it's just really difficult to be the best dad for Lucy when he's not feeling his best self. I really do want to take a moment to really commend John, because even as mental health awareness has just become more of a hot topic and people are getting more comfortable talking about the things that they're struggling with, it's still not the easiest thing in the world by any means to be that raw and vulnerable and say to your family, let alone your 10-year-old daughter, that you're struggling with something like that inside. Like, it only helps when you do, because you realize that you have a support system, hopefully if you're surrounded by good people, but just the initial step of opening up is a lot.
So hard. John hadn't even told his ex-wife Julie about his issues with depression.
And that was his spouse.
And that's your spouse. That's your lifelong partner for parenting. And so I so empathize with how much he struggled with that.
I mean, shout out to him. Like I said, ultimate courage right there. And let's not forget, you're not only admitting this to your ex-wife, your daughter, and 5 guys, but to the rest of the world.
Hello, national TV.
National TV. I mean, we say this a lot about the heroes who put themselves out there for the show, but like, truly, think about so many people who kept those feelings inside and later took action that possibly ended their life or put someone else that they care about in harm's way or at risk. So really diving into this with John, I think, was so necessary and such a great step for everybody, including Lucy.
Yeah.
Again, Lucy. My girl.
My girl. A+ to Karamo for me. For
A+.
sure.
Yeah, I think what that just kind of gentle conversation just opened up so much. And we see that at the end of the episode where John is able to look Julie in the eye and tell her candidly, like, this is what I'm struggling with. And
I am committed to improving.
exactly, took the words out. It's not even a, like, making all these grand promises of, like, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But just, like, I'm just taking the basic steps of just trying. And that's really all you can ask for.
That's all you can ask for.
That's all you can ask for. Let's dive right into JVN.
Yes, honey.
Who really...
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
It never gets old. I love him so much.
Can we just say that, like, this episode was arguably tailored specifically for JVN?
I know, because he loves to figure skate. He, like, is like a little figure skating queen. He's been practicing all the time on his IG. It's everywhere.
Yeah, if you guys follow him, you know he's a figure skating prodigy at this point. If comedy and reality TV doesn't work out for him, definitely got a career in figure skating.
He was like little Lucy's like stage mom. It was fantastic to watch.
It's really cute. And even so, like, obviously we love JVN's antics and him just being extra. I thought it was also really important for him to be that way in front of John, to kind of show him it's okay to fangirl about the fact that your daughter is a freaking amazing figure skater. Like,
absolutely.
Don't hold back, get involved, ask questions, kind of talk your thoughts out loud, because that'll give someone like Lucy, are we going to get that up on the screen of, is that Jonathan Van Ness?
It's up, JVN doing his thing. You guys can all see it. I mean, he's just living his truth.
Yeah.
He is living, and I love it.
Looking amazing. Going back to our discussion, I really did think it was important for him to just literally show him side by side all the ways you can get involved, because it was after they got on the ring together that he started asking questions about, is this a loop? Is this an axle? Just even getting comfortable with the vocabulary of the sport.
Absolutely. And just being able to, again, support his daughter, show up, help his wife, his ex-wife, Julie, parent and manage. And if he can take some of the nights where they're going to the rink and then she has more time to do whatever, like, that's going to be a better, happier household for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Yes. And Lucy won big this week
she
because
did.
Guess who crashed her date with JVN and her dad?
The most decorated figure skater of all time, Michelle Kwan. This was so cool that they were able to get her to do this.
I'm so grateful that Michelle and JVN became like besties in real life, because I felt like he's probably like, hey girl, you need to come on this episode. Like, this one is the one. And it was so touching. Like,
and she had the best, I mean, obviously she had the best advice, but like everything she said, I was like, oh, that's a good, yeah, use your arms to lift and like do this, finish the landing and make sure you count for 3 seconds. I was like, this is all very practical for a 10-year-old to like understand. It was great.
It was great. And again, JVN, Jonathan, he made a great point that, like, if this was his son who was into baseball or something, he would know what a home run is. He would know what the scoring system is. So, like, again, making that extra effort to get involved in his daughter's passion is only going to make it better. I mean, how much was she beaming that whole practice when her dad was there? Like, it brought me to tears.
She was so thrilled. You can just see the relief. She's like, I don't have to be the parent to everybody and myself. Like, I just, again, you could see how much she needed him to step up and be there for her, and for her to know he's got my back in all parts of my life.
Definitely. And it was such great timing, too, because at the end of this week, within the show, that is, Lucy had a figure skating recital competition called the Fall Fling. And throughout all the progress that he's made, John was able to join and be there in the stands and cheer her on and throw stuffed animals, and it was such a cute moment.
It was
Lucy
so great.
Nailed it.
She nailed it. I like that he was there with Julie. They were supporting each other. He looked fierce. We didn't even talk about that beard that JVN did. That clean shaved. Oh, it was amazing. So he looked fierce. He had the flowers. He was learning things and also knew about parts of her program. All around, so much improvement in such a short little amount of time. I mean, I'm speechless by how much this hero developed within the arc of one episode.
Especially, too, because it felt like such a gentle push for him, you know? And I definitely don't want to skip over Jonathan's transformation, because that beard trim, arguably one of his best.
And the hair, he kind of made it fluffier on top so that he had some coverage for, his like sort of balding areas, but you couldn't tell by the end. And then that beard, it's been a season of good beard so far.
Good beard.
Yeah, last episode was good too.
Yeah, you know Jonathan's partial to the bearded bros, which I love a good, I mean, listen, I love a good beard. That's always been my gripe. It's seeing bad beards. So seeing good ones, I'm like, yes, honey, bring on the scruff.
Exactly.
And I mean, we both peeped. Did you see how Julie looked at her ex?
Right? Okay, guys, I thought she was like, oh, did I make the right choice divorcing you? That's what I saw in those eyes. So TBD, we'll have to be on his social and check out and see if there's any reconciliation going on.
Maybe. I
don't
mean,
know.
at the very least.
I think she had a wedding ring on in this episode too, but I'm going to choose to ignore that.
Look at us. We're over here just like shipping things, making
We
it
are
happen.
shipping it so hard.
I mean, I know Lucy would probably be over the moon to see her parents get back together again.
Let's start a secret campaign.
Let's get Lucy's parents. Anyway, all in all, just a great transformation. At the end of the episode, Lucy looks great. John looks great. Everyone looked happy. And I really actually love this like kind of tender moment when they were doing the house reveal and we were looking at Lucy's lounge and John made a comment of like, you know, talking about things they can do together. And he said one of the first things they want to do is write thank you letters to the Fab Five.
So cute.
For everything they did for them.
So mature too. Like what 10-year-old sits down and writes thank you notes? I think it's so cute.
That's actually something I learned in my 20s. Like that
Same.
as like a best practice to do when, you know, just for being a good human being, whether it be business, saying thank you professionally or to family and loved ones. And I think that was such a genius thing to instill in his daughter at such a young age.
Yeah.
And even more so about that, just, I guess just really thinking about my own experiences while watching this and how close I was to my dad growing up and how much his support to me meant so much more than I could ever even quantify. No offense to my mom and my sisters and my family. I love you dearly, but being a daddy's girl, there's just something about your dad showing up for you and like being there for you in a way that no one else, like that's technically the first man in your life who's going to do that for you. So I think it's just really sweet that Lucy got to this place with her dad.
I could not agree more. I grew up without my dad, so I grew up in a single mom home, and I think that's why I was so hard on him being a good dad, because I do think it's so important. And like, luckily my mom was a superhero, so she did both, but that male influence is so important, especially at such a young age. So kudos to John for making it through this transformation and coming out on the other side stronger, better, faster, stronger.
And kudos to moms like Julie and to like moms like yours who step up and do the damn thing regardless and raise amazing human beings. Case in point right here.
Thanks, Christine, honeybee.
Of course, girl.
Appreciate you.
Definitely. So all in all, just a really fabulous, wholesome episode. Yeah.
Yeah, feel good. I like it.
Did we miss anything? I don't know, guys.
I don't think so. Let us know in the comments.
know
But
in
we
the
got more.
comments.
We got more.
Yes, we are moving right along to our special segment tonight. It was a lot of figure skating going on in the house, so we decided to just throw out some of our favorite figure skaters of all time. Starting with the star of the show, Michelle Kwan.
Michelle
Hello.
Kwan. Okay, the most decorated U.S. figure skater of all time. I think maybe all around figure skate. I don't know if it's just U.S. I will fact check that and let you guys know. But how cool that she was able to come in this episode. She's besties with JVN we talked about. So kudos to her.
Was this
She
our
looked
first
great.
celebrity cameo?
I feel like it was, or the biggest one that I recall in the history of the series.
Yeah, it definitely, because, you know, a lot of these stories are very much grounded in their reality and, like, what they're going through. So to kind of bring somebody in, like, I mean, yes, JVN was living, Lucy was living, but it was just a really cool
And I love that John didn't seem to know, like, who she was, which
right?
kind of made it even better. Like, it just brought everything down to be so relatable. So love that. Let's move on to Tara Lipinski, another... I mean, so decorated.
Yes.
She did so many Olympics and was just a really big role model for a lot of young girls growing up in the ice skating world.
Yes. And we got one more on the list.
We got, okay, bad girl. Bad girl questionable, Tanya Harding. And then we have to talk about Nancy
Kerrigan
as well, because that was that really put figure skating
on the map.
on a global scale with the controversy, and they've both, I think, developed into fantastic human beings and like learned a lot from that entire situation from when they were younger, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I have to mention Adam Rippon, because
course.
who can forget him? He is so full of life, and the show is all about celebrating who you are and not adapting to your circumstances. You make the world adapt to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what he's done in his I mean,
career.
he has so much more left. We're going to see a lot of him, but
For
in his
sure.
short career so far, he has really exemplified what Queer Eye is all about.
I'm going to start a petition right now with you guys. Help me out in the comments, and let's just try and get Adam on the next season of Queer Eye. Like, there has to be a way that we can fit him in somehow, because him and Jonathan in a scene together, honey.
It'd be everything.
Living for that.
It'd be everything.
The gorgeous Adam Rippon on our screen. All right, guys, let's move right into our news and gossip for this week. Take it away, Anna Kay.
This is my favorite section. I love news and gossip, you guys. I have to start off with our boys are Emmy nominated. Woo-hoo! These guys got 6 Emmy nominations for this season, and that includes Best Structured Reality TV Program. I could not be prouder of them. I have continually said that this show has gotten better and better for me, so I'm curious to see, we've talked about this, Christine, if it has the longevity to go 10 seasons. I hope it does, but right now I think they are sitting in that golden spot where life is good, the content's great, they're all branching out and doing their own things, and it's exciting to watch.
It's definitely exciting to watch, and again, I really want to see the way that the show and the guys will continue to challenge themselves in seasons beyond to kind of keep us interested and keep racking up those Emmys. So good job, guys.
All right, speaking of spin-offs, we've got Tan France, and he is doing a show called Dressing Funny, and he recently had Tina Fey and Rachel Dratch, shout out to my Dartmouth alum Rachel Dratch, on the show. You caught this episode, right? Tell us a quick, in your 2-sentence synopsis of the episode.
Oh my God. So Tan hilariously turns Rachel into Ariana Grande by way of several different outfit changes. They eventually land on the right look, but God, Tina Fey and Tan just have these amazing skits in between that truly had me in stitches. Like, honestly, shout out to Tan and Netflix for thinking of such a cool short form spin-off show that really, really highlights his great sense of humor that I don't know that people know that he had, and of course his impeccable style. So check that out if you guys haven't already.
Cool. It's called Dressing Funny, and we'll be sure to peep that. Moving on to Taylor Swift. She's huge, right? And she just released a new music video called You Need to Calm Down. Our Fab Five was prominently featured in the video, and the video has undertones of support for the LGBTQ community. And
you don't say those rainbows.
You don't say. And then here's a pic of Antoni with the Miss Taylor Swift Queen herself. Obviously, loving every moment. These guys know how to ham it up, and that's exactly what you need for a fun music video. So kudos to them. That is your news and gossip, you guys, for this week.
Talk about the Fab Five really blowing up, guys. Like,
everywhere.
Music videos, season 4. We got season 5 on the way. We have a highly teased Japan special this season where the guys go to Japan. I'm super stoked to see that, which I'm sure we'll cover later on. And just everything else that's in store for season 4. It's already shaping up to be so amazing. So can't wait to come back here.
Let's get those Emmys.
Same time, same place, and talk about it even more, right?
Yes.
More Emmys in the book.
More Emmys in the books.
Well, they got to win this one first,
yes.
Actually. They're just nominated. But we're putting it into the universe that they're going to do so. But until next week, guys, it's been so real. Thanks for joining us to talk about Season 4, Episode 3 of Queer Eye. Yes. Anna Kay, where can the people keep up with you all week long?
You guys can find me at Anna K. Thomas on all social media, but Instagram is my favorite, so if you keep me there, I will promise to get back to you.
I'm going to have to jump on that and agree that Instagram is also my favorite. I just posted some really interesting things on my story, so make sure to go check that out. You can follow me on Instagram at Christine I. Alexis and on Twitter at Christine Bean. Again, I am your host, Christine Alexis. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Love y'all. Bye.
Yes.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.